I understood the assignment. I understood the assignment.
Let's just start out this bad girl. All right, hello. This is Deborah, and welcome to another episode here on the Girl Power Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and give it a share with any of the mamas out there who are trying to find themselves amidst feeling overworked and overwhelmed. This episode brings relief, so they are going to want to hear this. Today's guest is a busy mom of two, battles a 3-job schedule, and operates with a high-functioning life. At the start of her transformation, she was only loving herself conditionally, and as a result, was just really finding herself in and out of depression. Knowing she needed to make a change, she began to implement her no-fluff fitness and mindset practices and started loving herself unconditionally. Her workouts are fun, fast, and effective. The mindset work she sprinkled into her courses and classes are your true gateway to accepting. She surely helps you stay moving and motivated like never before. Welcome to the show, Brianna. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, let's go ahead and begin. So I want to open up the show today with addressing the busy mom and mom lifestyle. In the throes of planning, starting, and raising a family, how quickly can a mother become imbalanced? Why is it so important to stay balanced, and how is it even possible?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so moms can become imbalanced so quickly. Like, I remember thinking in the hospital after I gave birth to my daughter, she's my oldest, and it was like this suffocation feeling of just overwhelm and like extreme unknown. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, there's no rule book, right? You kind of just go into this very primal instinct of, now I'm going to care for this baby that depends on me. And what happens is most of the time you're caring for other people and not caring for yourself. So, I mean, truly, it happens like a light switch. It happens so quickly, and oftentimes we don't even realize it because our primal instincts kick in and we start to care for our youth.
Yeah. It's something that the Invest Universal and Girl Power podcast brand is all about, is investing in yourself before you invest in other people. So at what point in your own path into motherhood did you realize that you had to make that decision for yourself, and how quickly did you notice the impact that decision had on your life?
Yeah, I mean, being balanced is as basic as it sounds, right? Like, on the surface, you think like, oh yes, of course, self-care is important. And of course, you know, the balance of work and play is important. But what happens, at least what happened in my experience, was I realized that my life was slowly becoming extremely one-sided. Everything kind of depended and revolved around what I was doing for other people, right? And so for me, when it came to realizing that I needed some support in this area, it was because I was so burnt out. And unfortunately, I got to the space of, you know, getting so burnt out that I was hospitalized. And we thought that, I say we, my partner and I, we thought that it was maybe physical or something was going on. But really it was just the side effects of what happens when you push your body and you continue to push your body into this space of everybody else's cup is full around you, but yours is empty.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry to hear you were hospitalized, but I can see that being a foundational component to wanting to make a change.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into talking about fitness on a deeper level. Since so much of the foundation of your work is in health and fitness, rooting from the burning desire to empower women to love themselves at whatever weight, to treat their bodies with the respect it deserves, and to gently remind them that they only get this one body, that is it. And so how will they treat it today? If a big part of instilling this powerful message into people stems from your own transformation, first off, at what point did you realize that this was something you needed to do for yourself? Then at one point did it turn into your passion? And what do the results of your followers aid in your drive and commitment to staying on the path?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you hear nothing else from me today, like nothing else at all, which is like totally fine, right? Because we all take what we need. But hear this, ask for help. And I'm not just talking about like ask for mental help. I'm talking about ask for help from your community. Sit down with your to-do list and get to delegating. Where can you outsource materials that are leaving you that one-sided of balance? And I understand and I completely empathize with those that have no support, financial or community around them. Like if you're a single mom or a single parent in that realm, or you don't live near family or support systems, or you don't have the financial means to hire help either. But that's where leveraging your time and leveraging your boundaries is really so important, because getting super clear on what you need to do and what you want to do are two really different things. And I think that as moms, we dump everything in the I need to do this bucket, and it feels so real. I remember my brain, like now that I've zoomed out, right? I can look and be like, oh my gosh, it's so real. It feels so real. Your brain really makes it seem like everything is a fire that you have to put out. And that's not totally true, right? And so kind of puts you back into that, I need to take a step back and I need to calm down. And like you had asked, at what point, like, was the turning point? And I had mentioned earlier, right? Like 5 years ago, I got super sick and I couldn't figure out why. I went to specialist on specialist on specialist, and nobody could tell me what was going on. And I had these like really terrible IBS kind of style episodes, and they would leave me like literally, I lost, I think, like probably close to 50 pounds in a month. I wasn't eating. It was just a hot mess express. And that went on for like 18 months, where it was like waves of this. And it was some of the darkest times in my entire life. And I was supposed to be like this poster child of fitness, right? Like I had all these followers on Instagram and I'm telling people how to be healthy and how to be fit. Meanwhile, I'm over here like in the fetal position on the bathroom floor, right? It's terrible. And, doing all the right things and still experiencing this, I was a mom. I was a top 10% teacher at the time in the state of Texas. I did yoga. I did meditation. I did breathing work. Like I did all the things that you're supposed to do, and it still wasn't working. And at that point, it was like, okay, I'm going to accept that this is probably not a physical thing, that this is probably a mental thing. And after that, after I kind of approached this as, let me go deeper into a space that I don't want to go. Nobody wants to go into the dark. Like nobody wants to go into the mental trash can where you're suppressing and pushing down all kinds of emotions that, you've kind of coped with your entire life. But everything changed, and it happened almost overnight. I started intensive psychotherapy. I lost my dad really tragically, like right before I got married. And I got in my own business, and in my life, I got a life coach. I got a business coach. I started asking for help. And once I did that, I learned how to manage my mind. And once I learned how to manage my mind, everything rippled from that moment. Once you learn that you are that your thoughts are powerless without you, right? Because you have these thoughts that happen, and usually they're negative. 50% of our thoughts are negative, and that's why we're here today, right? Like our primitive brain kept us alive. Like no food meant famine, meant death. And so when you really break it down to that component, you realize that it's actually a survival mechanism. But now in 2022, we have the power to offer our brain something different. And once you have a different thought offering, then a different feeling happens from that. And from feelings take actions. And it's like two completely different paths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a powerful message. And I'm sorry that you had lost your dad in such a tragic way. You're not only beautiful on the outside, but you're beautiful on the inside. You've done a lot of beautiful, like good work. I'm so really happy that you're here today.
Thank you.
Do you see yourself still teaching fitness in 10 years? In what ways do you think you and your business may evolve?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's kind of funny. I think people always assume, with the rise of social media, like we see fitness influencers and things. I think people assume that I've always been like fit and like this typical brand fitness instructor, but that is like so not the truth at all. And I think one really important component to my story, to give it some context, right, is I'm super tall. I say I'm super tall. I'm tall for me. I'm, and I'm dense. Like I'm a dense woman. Like and for as long as I can remember, I was a dancer in school and constantly ridiculed for my body composition, like constantly, because I was tall and I was thick. And when you're tall and thick in the ballet world, you can't partner with anybody. Right. And so at a really young age, I was kind of taught that there was something wrong with me, very subconsciously. My parents were bodybuilders and in that fitness realm, which that has its own mess of toxicity, right? Like the bodybuilding world of things. And so, unfortunately, I learned all the typical ways to diet really young. And it wasn't until later in college that I actually stepped into fitness. I was 18 years old and I took a fitness class on how to be a fitness instructor. I just needed 1 credit hour. And so I was like, well, let me just take this. Like, how bad can this be? Like, let me just take it. And it turns out, like, I really fell into the pocket. I heard the music really well. There's different components, as you know, being a Group X instructor. And it really just kind of came natural to me. But the problem is having battled such an aggressive eating disorder in high school, which I don't talk very publicly about, I decided that in college, if I was going to be the big girl, I was going to be the strong girl. But then that swung the pendulum all the way to the other side, right? You go from like wanting to be skinny and thin to being strong and being obsessed with those numbers as well. And the reality is I hated myself when I was 200 pounds and I hated myself when I was 120 pounds. And so when you kind of think about like, am I going to be here 10 years from now? The answer is like, absolutely yes. I mean, absolutely. Because even in my 15 years of experience up until this point, I would probably say I was still, kind of breeding that toxic fitness culture up until about five years ago, doing it completely unknowing to me. But, I gained a bunch of weight when I had my babies. And when I say a bunch, I mean like 100 pounds a bunch. So I've lost 100 pounds 2 times in my life, which is a huge amount of weight to lose. There's a lot of mindset work that goes in between that. But I really have this passion of just continuing to spread this message that it's not about fitness, it's about wellness. Because at the end of our lives, like let's all hope that we've got 90 to 100 years on this planet. I mean, do we really think that in the casket or in the box or wherever you're gonna be, people are gonna be like, oh my God, she looks so great in a bikini on the beach? Like, no, they're going to be like, what did she stand for? What is her legacy? What message did she ripple into the world? And I will do that. And I will scream that from the rooftops until literally my last breath.
Yeah. You go, girl.
Yeah.
What is your number one goal for the next 6 months? And what are the steps you are going to take to ensure that you achieve it?
Okay, so I've got this vision of this course. So I'm a wellness course creator. So I write courses and ebooks and videos, and then people, buy them for low ticket items, but that's kind of what my niche is, right? And so I've got this course that I'm working on. And right now the internal title is We're the Bikini Mama, because that's probably not what it's going to be called, but that's kind of my vision for it. And so it takes me a solid year or so to write a really good course. And so for my next 6 months, that's what I'm going to be really focused on. I want to walk through the mental blocks that we put in place subconsciously around like the opinions of body composition. This is my 5th course, I think. So I really love creating them, but it takes a long time for me to do it.
I think that's like important though. You can't rush it. You can't rush planning out a curriculum, making sure it has the components you want. It's articulated in a way that's going to get your message across and give people results. So I feel like that is like a good standard time. And that just shows your commitment to really combing through your work and making sure that it's quality for people, which is something I absolutely respect and admire about you.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Something that I also love about you is your multi-passionate energy, from being a math coach to your 15-minute workouts and robust fitness programs, ebooks, time management, courses and webinars, and of course, your sharing of love for natural beauty products, all this health and wellness diversity. So let me ask you, why multi-income?
I could talk to you for 9,000 minutes on this. I mean, I really can. Right? In the beginning, I think the question that you had asked me was like, what's the biggest unbalanced thing? And I said, ask for help. If you hear nothing else, ask for help. Yeah. When you don't have the financial means to ask for help, that makes it really hard. Yeah. I mean, cleaning my house takes me hours that I don't have, right? Picking up my kids from school, like there's only so many hours in the day. And so when people ask me about like why multi-income, like it's that right there. I could not hire my amazing cleaning crew that helps me with my home. Sure. If I did not have multi-income. Like I am a teacher. I mean, like we don't do it for the money, you know?
Right.
We need it. Like I decided that I was not going to pass judgment or do anything on any of it until I tried it. And my partner has a very expensive chronic illness, like very expensive. And we learned really quick in our lives that money does not grow on trees. Matt and I, we paid for our entire education ourselves. You know, our parents, we were the first people in our families to go to college. Mm-hmm. Our parents were blue collar. Mm-hmm. And when we got married, we had over $180,000 in debt. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a massive amount of money. And if I was listening from the posture of, you know, like somebody maybe just listening in, I would be thinking like, it must be nice to hire help, you know, but truly like, I get it. And this is why we decided multi-income was the only way to get ahead of the curve. I knew that in order to mentally and sometimes physically free myself, I needed either more hours in the day, which wasn't going to happen, or more money in my bank account. And instead of just sitting there accepting things for what they seemed like they were on the surface, mm-hmm. I decided to start digging deeper, and I started learning how to turn the talents that I created myself into monetization. And that's when I started making, I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't even know how to upload a video on YouTube. I might be the only millennial that doesn't know how to use TikTok. Like, I am not technology savvy, but what I do know is that all of the answers sit there in the little box, the computer in our phone, and we can go figure it out. And that's why we decided multi-income. I knew that there was no other way to live the life that I wanted to live without it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Specifically speaking now to your beauty business, what makes a multi-level marketing company a fantastic way for busy women and busy moms to diversify their income?
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, building on what we just talked about, right? I knew that I needed more money. Okay. Yeah. But here's the thing. I couldn't stand being away from my kids any longer. We know in the fitness instruction world, you're constantly trading time for dollars. And time is the most precious resource. It's the only finite resource when you really think about it that we have on the planet. Like it is, there's only a certain amount. And I was let me back up because I'm gonna be very honest and very transparent. I was a network marketer's dream. I mean, little did they know that I'm a super shy person. Like I only have like 2 friends, maybe 1.5. I mean, I'm very shy. I'm very introverted. I'm a homebody. I don't like vacation. but I get on a stage with a microphone and I pop around. And so I honestly thought the industry was kind of embarrassing because I experienced embarrassing things. People would, the girl that bullied me in high school is like, oh my God, your kids are so cute. Like, wear my unicorn wrap. I don't know. And I always felt like that is not okay. Like, you have no relational equity with me. You really don't care. Right. And so I'm a researcher by nature. So that was my posture going into it. But once again, I need more income. If I want this life, I need more income. How am I going to do it without looking elsewhere at this point? And so I'm a researcher by nature, and I live by this rule. When my dad died, I kind of took this rule to heart. And it's kind of a don't knock it until you try it kind of rule. But I could never find a company that I really aligned with. I knew that I was willing to try it because I live by that rule. My dad was taken at 51 years old. Like, I live by this rule, but I couldn't find an alignment. And then honestly, I was experiencing like some hair thinning and my color didn't look good. I've got pink hair and my hair was not great. And so I started kind of started researching what could I do. That's when I found the brand that I chose to partner with. And they fit all of my kind of values, right? I'm vegan, so they're a vegan company. They're cruelty free. They work a lot. They have a whole gratitude department. Being a teacher in a high risk environment, like I teach at Title I schools, which is classified as low income, high risk. And so that is really important to me. And they have a lot of work that goes into that sustainability. I'm a big proponent of the earth. I'm like mega hippie. We grow our food, we compost, we do the whole thing. They have a sustainability department. And that's why I kind of decided that I was going to try that company and that brand. It fit my values. In addition to, I knew that if the product worked, I would be okay talking about it. I'm not like a fake personality. I don't fake it very well.
That's
and
a good thing.
What happened is now what happened was I was talking about it authentically. And I was talking about it from a real perspective. I wasn't messaging people about like, oh, blah, 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 join my team, da, da, da. I was just sharing it. But I was sharing it intentionally. It is work. 100% it was work. But it was work that I could do when my kids were snuggled up to me and we were watching a movie. I could tell them, hey, mommy's going to be on her phone from this time to this time. I am working. This is what my work looks like. And this is why I'm doing it. And my kids get it. And now what happens is when you do that from an authentic posture, people feel that energy. And then one thing led to another. And then it just kind of snowballed in. And without saying yes to an MLM, which sounds nuts, we would never be where we are financially today. Not because of the MLM, but because of what it did to our mindset as a family. My husband watched my success and he thought, if she can do something like that, if she can be brave and learn a new skill like that, maybe I can too. And homeboy taught himself how to code. And now makes websites. You know what I mean? Like it's not about the MLM. It's about what it did for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So many nuggets of wonderful information you are sharing with people today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now to close out here, when taking a step back and looking at the broad scope of all of your hard work that you've put in throughout all of the years, what is something that you can do today as a result of all your hard work that you were not capable of doing a year ago?
Yeah. I would say putting boundaries in place like I can now. I would always get really stuck in the people pleasing cycle, and the perfectionism trap, which is one of the biggest, I think one of the hardest hurdles that a lot of overworked moms have. We're in this constant cycle of other people focused, making sure everybody else is okay, making sure everybody else is happy, but we don't really take the time and look back in the mirror and ask ourselves those things. but it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as just being like, you know what, just take 20 minutes and take care of yourself. It's so much deeper than that. And part of that is putting boundaries in place and working on developing a mindset practice and sticking to it like I've committed to now, where I can honestly say that managing my mind has to be the most amazing transformation of all, because I can now zoom out and look at so many different categories of my life and realize that they're only negative if I spin them negative, or you can view it as a complete positive. There have been so many failures in my life, in my businesses, in my profession. But when you kind of say, well, like, all right, yes, that was a huge flop, but what did I learn from that? And then if you take those lessons and apply it, there's literally no loss ever. So it's pivoting to that headspace, that there is no loss, that you control the loss, and that failure is not a bad thing. Failure should be the expectation. If you're constantly winning, where's the growth? That's not fair.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Brianna, this has been such a fantastic conversation. I really hope you are able at some point in the future to come back so we can talk more. But now where can everybody find you?
Okay, let's see. I said I don't know how to use TikTok. I have a TikTok, but I don't know how to use it, okay? But my TikTok and my Instagram is Healthy Roots Method. I have a Facebook group just called Healthy Roots. And my website, which has all my courses and my free content, like all my webinars that I do. I have a cravings webinar, a boundary webinar, all kinds of good stuff. That's at briannasilvio.com.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for chatting with me here today. That was a lot of fun. Again, you gave a lot of good information, and I think a lot of mothers, and even if they're not mothers, will get a lot of information, good nuggets out of that. So now, Brianna and I want to hear from you, my friends. We've got a couple questions for you today. So first up, as a busy mom, in what ways are you feeling unbalanced? And secondly, what is one action that you can take away from everything you have learned here today and apply to your life? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Girl Power Podcast. Please subscribe and give it a like, give it a share. And thanks so much for being here today. Hang on the line, and everybody enjoy the rest of your day.